All righty, good morning and welcome to On the Bench with Big Jim. Oh, it's another crazy morning in Facebook land. We're running some tests this morning. And there we go. And we're going to see if we can connect with our good friend Levi Jones of All In Wrestling Systems. Let me see. Oh, shoot, there you are. We're going to bring you on right now because I don't want to lose this opportunity. Wow. Good deal. And go ahead and accept the invitation. There we go.
Hey, what's going on, Jim?
I'm doing good. Hey,
can you hear me okay?
Yeah, I can. But do you have a set of headphones?
Yeah, just a second, cause
okay.
I got a broken screen, so one side is actually one side's not working, and the other side is working. So 1 second.
That's fine.
That's fine. I was trying to get it up on the computer because this screen is broken. So that's kind of the problem here. Okay.
Well, while you're doing that, I'm gonna run a commercial. Go ahead and plug in. There we go.
Is the screen all cracked?
No, you're fine. That'll work. It is cracked, but that's fine. Hey, first off, I want to do a sponsors commercial so we can get this in. Jay's Teriyaki Grill is delicious rice, noodles, fantastic teriyaki chicken, beef, or pork, and crazy huge portions, making this the best bang for your buck in the area. And their egg rolls are to die for. You can't go wrong by stopping at Jay's Teriyaki Grill for lunch, dinner, whether you eat in or pick it up and take it home. And they also cater for parties. Go try it for yourself on the corner of Alder and Broadway at 123 East Broadway Avenue. Call 509-764-5155 and to have it ready for you when you get there. Jay's Teriyaki Grill, and tell them Big Jim sent you. You can also go to their Chow Now app and order it online. So it's a pretty good deal. I just entered all of them. How you doing today?
Hey, I'm doing good. Yeah, good to get a hold of you.
I'm glad you were able to finally get this connected. Folks, today on the bench with Big Jim, we have Levi Jones, who has started his own business, All In Wrestling Systems, and he also does the Kaizen Intensive Camps all around the inland Northwest. So Levi's, would you call yourself a Spokane boy or Lakeside? How did you guys designate yourselves?
Yeah, I'm a Washington boy.
I know you're a Washington boy
through and through, but
Lakeside High School is right there North Spokane, no?
Yeah, it's about 45 minutes outside of Spokane.
Oh, okay. So
yeah,
you would say you're from Lakeside.
Yeah, Lakeside or 9 Mile Falls.
9 Mile Falls, that's what it was.
Out in the boondocks.
Out in the boondocks, up in the trees. That's a great place to be from. So, and then, let's. I mean, you've been doing some great things. I see you're wearing your Kaizen shirt today. I don't have a Kaizen. I don't have a Kaizen.
Oh,
shirt.
I'll hook you up. I'll get you an all-in shirt. Here you go. Look at this. Look at this. This is coming your way, Jim. Right here.
Oh, great.
All in. It's a lifestyle. It's a choice. It's time.
Hey, yeah. I had some questions about that stuff, but we're going to get to that here in a minute. what I wanted to do to let my listeners, my followers, kind of find out a little bit more about you. Um, where, I mean, you grew up. Your dad was a wrestling coach. When did you start wrestling? For some reason you're upside down now.
Oh shoot. How's that? Can
That's
you see
great. No,
me?
that's good. That's good. There you go.
Can you
You
see
have
me
a
okay?
you have a better face for TV than Facebook than I have. So you're doing just fine. But you're kind of halfway and kind of scoot a little bit to the right. There you go. There, perfect.
Right there.
Yeah, you're good
Yeah,
there.
I got my screen turned around now, so I don't even know what I look like. So I'm just gonna look at the back of my phone so
Oh
you don't
no,
have to have such a blurry
no,
image.
that's good. That's good. That was a good idea. Good idea to make that change. Um, so when did you start? When did this wrestling lifestyle start? Obviously, probably when you were born. You probably raised on the mats. Do you remember what's your first recollection of wrestling?
You know, so I started when I was 3 years old, and
Mm.
yeah, and I was in tennis shoes and wrestling against the 5-year-olds, getting my butt kicked and learning the way, learning the ropes, building character, right?
Well, that's great that you have that attitude. What did your mom? Obviously, your dad is Scott Jones, a Hall of Fame coach at Lakeside forever and ever. Um, did your mom have reservations, or was she excited to have you? Did you have older brothers? I don't remember. Did you have an older brother?
No, just I got 3 sisters.
Sisters, and
So
so
yeah, 3 sisters, tough sisters, and a good tough wrestling mom as well.
and she was all in, and no pun intended, but from the beginning, she loved watching you wrestle. Even though you're wrestling the older kids, was that hard on her?
So, can you say that again?
I was just wondering if it was hard on your mom. My mom hated watching me wrestle, and even when I was in high school and college, and was able to handle myself, she hated it every minute of it. And my wife, uh, she was nervous when she saw me wrestle, but she didn't have the she didn't have the my mom really did not like. She was so worried for me. So I'm just curious how your mom handled that.
Yeah, I mean, I'm sure she got nervous, but I mean, I can remember multiple times where at the same time she kind of she knew how to put me in my place, and she was a good tough mom too. So she was a little bit of both, but yeah, no, I mean, yeah, I think moms in the sport of wrestling, there's definitely something, any sport is unique, but parents that have to.
Oh, you're cutting out. You pause for a second. Finish your thought about what your mom.
Oh, I just said it's a different deal, with parents in the sport of wrestling. It's a mano a mano sport. There's a fight that's going on, and so the emotions that get stirred up are definitely plentiful.
Yes, they are. Um, what's so your first recollection? Do you remember wrestling when you were 3 years old, getting beat up by those 5-year-olds? Do you have some?
Uh,
Do you have some memory of that?
yeah, I do. I think I do. I think I have pretty vivid memory of when I was really young. You know what is kind of a blur actually is kind of some of my older years when I was in high school. But when I was young, I do have some good recollection of those times. Yeah.
Um, Now, you end up wrestling in high school, and I mean, did you do any other sports in high school, or did you just
Yeah, I
wrestle?
was I was your I was your small town, small school boy doing multiple sports. I wrestled year round, so even while I was doing, football and soccer and all these other sports, I was also, finishing those practices and heading into wrestling practice. So wrestling was never, there wasn't really an off season. And a lot of that was actually, just by choice. Not a lot of kids say this, but I was truly in love with the sport from the time I was young, and that might have been some really positive coaching influence in my life, of course, with my dad, but I really did. I loved it. And so even when I'd finish, a football practice or soccer practice, I mean, the first thing I wanted to do was, head over to the freestyle room and start scrapping.
and get a practice in there. How
That's
often? Right. So you were wrestling a couple times a week during the football season.
Oh yeah.
And what did your football coach think of that?
My football coach was really smart. He hired my father, who was a wrestling coach, and that might have been a little strategy of my dad's as well. But yeah, no, he knew that there was a direct relation with some of his most successful football players, and it was that they were wrestlers, and the linemen, the linebackers. And then, every once in a while, a smaller guy like myself would slip into that picture.
And so that was really smart of him to have you have your dad be on staff with him, so that he didn't have to. That's good coordination. There's so much. There's so many articles out there now that show how wrestling is a great off-season training program for football players, and the skills that are learned in wrestling can help not only they can help everybody, linebackers in tackling, linemen in body position and stuff like that. So in high school, you were a pretty good wrestler. Tell us. Give us a little history about how you did in high school.
Yeah, I mean, in high school, I was like, I was pretty average. I mean, I was definitely, I had the potential and the ability. Sometimes I was just trying to find myself, I think, like a lot of kids, and I had my ups and downs, and throughout that career, I just kind of I had a fair amount of wins and put myself in the state finals multiple times, and lost a couple close matches, and won some big ones. Captured title, and we ended up going on to win a bunch of team titles, and it was a good career. It wasn't. It was a big time in my life where I was trying to figure out a really important kind of question, and that was just kind of why I was wrestling. And for me at the time, that was kind of I had to find kind of a spiritual connection, and a lot of people do it for different reasons, but in my career, I kind of figured out I was wrestling for something. I was blessed with the opportunity to wrestle instead of it being all about me. And that's when things really began to kind of flourish in my high school career, and went on to lock up national finals in Fargo, and begin to All-American multiple times, and start setting myself up for a college recruiting trips and things like that. Yeah.
And so, and you're I knew I'd catch you on this because I know you're humble. And so how many times did you win state? How many you got?
Yeah, I was only a one-time state champ, which
and that's fine.
Which is actually, it's a funny thing, because I'm actually, it's probably one of my, it's one of the best things that happened to me, is that I lost twice in the finals, and I lost really close, but it's been a message that later on in my career I went on to do bigger and better things, but because of that status, I've been able to share it with a lot of other kids that to be honest, maybe aren't accomplishing everything that they want, and they're not the 3-time or the 4-time or the 2-time the one-time state champ quite yet. And so it's been a fun part of my overall story.
And then you mentioned college recruiting trips. How many trips did you take? Because I know you ended up wrestling at Boise State, but how many visits were you able to go and see?
Yeah, I took 3 or 4 Division I visits, and two that were really special, and two that kind of were unique at the time.
And tell us about that.
So one of those trips was University of Oregon, and it was back when they had a wrestling program. And that trip was that I was getting recruited really hard by a guy named Chuck Kearney, and a lot of things were really leaning towards University of Oregon. I at the time was kind of that kid that I got oohed and awed a little bit by the fancy of Nike and all the really amazing facilities and Oregon wrestling, kind of this amazing kind of platform that I could potentially compete on in the Pac-12. And then later on in that recruiting picture, almost when I was just about ready to commit, started recruiting me, and that was Boise State. And I kind of slipped into the picture there. And both those recruiting trip stories are pretty unique, but those were the two teams that kind of started my journey that direction.
So what was the ultimate straw that broke the camel's back that made you go to Boise, that made you choose Boise?
Yeah, well, it was, so I guess a short answer is when I came down, I got to go pheasant hunting. And for me, pheasant hunting is that was pretty easy. But at the same time, they had an extremely tough team. They were very focused, and they were coming off, I think, a runner-up or a title in the Pac-12 conference. And I saw a lot of upside there. The long story is I kind of had two different experiences. One was, and a lot of kids, I hope if you're watching this and you're a kid, you understand this, that, you're going to have a culture shock when you go to these recruiting trips at times. And some coaches are really understand who you are and what you want, and then some don't. And I think that's what I experienced on my recruiting trip. Is one recruiting trip, they kind of oohed and awed me, but then showed me this kind of wild party scene that, quite honestly, I wasn't a fan of. It wasn't going to be a part of me in my career. And then another one had a deep focus on the wrestling and the lifestyle, and that, I think that's what ultimately brought me to Boise State. And I gotta say, that was probably one of the toughest decisions of my life. That was after turning down kind of multiple scholarships at the University of Oregon, that kind of a car dealership negotiation that was going on, and then eventually selecting a very much lower scholarship. Actually, I had an opportunity to go at 100% to University of Oregon and have a stipend every month and be, have all my school paid for, or go on a half scholarship pretty much to go to Boise State. But with more potential to kind of accomplish my dreams. So, yeah.
So that was a tough decision. Did your dad give you any advice?
My dad was really open on the whole thing. He wasn't super, he really helped me weigh out the positives, the pros and the cons. And he just really wanted me to make my own decision. And then it was actually, you had mentioned, what was the final straw? What was the thing that changed it? And it was actually my mom. One day I was getting ready to maybe potentially pick University of Oregon, and my mom actually said something to me that she's probably never said to me in my entire life. I'm probably going to hurt her feelings just by telling you guys, but she said she was going to have a pretty hard time talking to me after if I made that decision to go to University of Oregon. And she knew some things that I didn't, and so apparently that's the way she felt like sharing it. But it definitely made me go into prayer and some deep thought on what I really wanted to do.
Well, that's maybe she had a premonition. time-wise, chronologically,
Yeah.
how many years after you chose Boise
Yeah.
State did Oregon drop their program?
Yeah, so that was kind of interesting, right? That was ironic. Is I went so after I turned down Oregon, I was told, I hope you get your, beep kicked, your butt kicked every time you wrestle a duck. And of course, I said, I popped back and said, okay, well, we'll see. And I was wrestling one of their seniors, and knocked him off, and kind of had an interesting confrontation there with the coach where I didn't really get a handshake. And that next year, so 1 year into my career, that next year they dropped their program, and it was super, super sad and super crushing in the sport. And obviously, if you guys know my full story, you guys know that now it even came full circle to where I wrestled and coached Division I, and then I had to experience a dream crush there as well.
Yeah, because Boise State, and I don't. The show's not about me, but I know what you're talking about because Idaho State, where I played football and wrestled, they got Title IX and dropped their wrestling program, and then I transferred and finished my last year at BYU, and several years later, when Mark Schultz was coaching at BYU, they dropped the program. So I know what it feels like to have your feet taken out from underneath you when the administration of the school that I mean, you're Boise State. You love that school, and you want to support it because it did so much for you, and then smack right in the face, your program's taken out from underneath you. But that was when you were coaching. You had finished your career wrestling. Tell us a little bit about your college wrestling career and how you felt about that.
Yeah, I was so blessed to be on a phenomenal team with a lot of strong character men that really wanted to be great in the sport. And, quickly, I think it was our sophomore or junior year, we found ourselves number 2 ranked team in the entire country. We were just behind Iowa. And I found myself, a top, I was number 2 ranked kid at 141 pounds. I was in contention for national title, no doubt. Didn't always perform up to my potential, but, that team was something special. We went on to win 3 Pac-12 titles, Pac-10 and Pac-12 titles when we were in college. And it was just a really amazing thing we had going there, and the momentum was definitely headed in the right direction.
So you got to feel good about the career you ended up having, and then you get into coaching. Did you go right into coaching, or did you try and do a little wrestling on the national level?
Yeah, so I did a little bit of both. I wrestled kind of the elite ladder, if you will. U.S. Open, Schultz, and these types of tournaments, and I had some great tournaments. And while I was doing that, I actually took a coaching job down at Arizona State University, and I was coaching down there, and that was actually going really good. We were kind of trying to rebuild the program and kind of get it back on its feet. And a coach down there gave me a chance to come in as a young college grad and start coaching the 125, 33, and 41, one of the 49 pounders. So I was kind of a lightweights coach, and it was kind of the beginning of my coaching career.
Was that Bobby or was that Zeke?
It was Sean. It was Sean Charles. Yeah,
Sean Charles. Yep. That's right. Yep. He was in between them. That's right. So that's a great opportunity to because Sean knows a lot of people and had a big name in wrestling, and Arizona State had some pretty good teams in the past. So that's where is that your first coaching position in college?
Yeah, that was Yep, that was my first coaching position, and that's kind of where it began. And yeah, I just kind of immersed myself into coaching the lightweights, and it was a really great experience. Kind of long story is, shortly 1 year into that job, I actually kind of decided to take the family for a couple different reasons, to take the family back up to Boise. I jumped into a fundraising job with Boise State Wrestling. I later kind of had to jump into the business world. And then when Coach Mendoza, Mike Mendoza, got hired at Boise State, that's when my door opened back up to really, really coach. The way I wanted to, from a recruiting standpoint, from a practice standpoint, kind of an entire system. And that's when I started coaching back at Boise State.
Okay. Now,
Yeah.
Just to kind of turn a different kind of a question on you, but it's talking about coaching, is your dad, how much longer did your dad coach high school after you had graduated? What was the year you graduated high school?
So I graduated in 2006. My dad coached one more year, and then I don't think he could take enough of missing all my matches and whatnot. So he actually went into the business world and started traveling to see me wrestle and to see the girls in their competitions and their sports as well.
What did your sisters do?
My sister was a runner down here at College of Idaho. My other sister was my little sister was a dancer, and then my oldest sister was a basketball player at North Idaho College.
Oh, cool! So all athletic, the whole family.
Now, all athletic in their own worlds.
Tell me a little bit about your dad's wrestling background. Where did he wrestle in high school, and he wrestled in college too, if I remember right?
Yeah, so my dad started wrestling in high school and then immersed himself in that wrestling world as much as possible. Later, he wanted to play football, like most of us, I'm sure, and later went on to end up wrestling at Eastern College, and then landed a few coaching jobs in kind of Snohomish, Marysville, Pilchuck area, and then later, I think it was around like probably 1991 or 92, he took the job at Lakeside High School, and then he coached for, I don't know how many years, but 20 something years, a long time. Yeah.
Yeah. So that's cool. Hey, we're going to take a quick break and do a commercial, and we'll just bear with me. We're going to do this real quick. TSYS Merchant Solutions offers everything you want from a payment processing company. Free equipment, the lowest processing costs, and local customer service. If you're looking to improve your bottom line, let's look where we can save some of your hard-earned money. We'll check your processing statement and see what extra fees you're getting charged. We can customize your processing costs and provide you with the best local customer service and free equipment. TSYS Merchant Solutions wants to partner with you to make your business successful. Call 509-750-5676 to get a free analysis. Check us out online at tsys.com. So thanks for letting me throw that in there. So you're into college coaching, and you're kind of following. Would you say you're following your dad's footsteps in a way?
Yeah, I mean, my dad he still has it in his blood, even in the business world. But, he put so much of that passion for coaching, from an energy standpoint, from a motivating standpoint, from a technical standpoint, from a systematic standpoint. He put that in my blood. And so it just poured out of me, probably even while I was a competitor. And it was pretty known that next phase for me was definitely going to be coaching. It was just a matter of what level. I was really passionate about serving at the time at the college level, because here's these kids, right, that committed 4 years, 5 years of their life to a scholarship and said, I'm all in for wrestling, and this is what I'm doing. I'm not even questioning it. I'm not even like thinking about other sports. I'm just doing this. And so I did have a strong interest towards that, just because those kids I knew I could really help develop fast.
And so it was an easy choice for you. And
Yeah.
when you just mentioned that all in statement, is that
Yeah.
where you developed your thought process of this business that you wanted to start?
Yeah, so I mean, so just a little bit, if for listeners that haven't heard about it, it's called All In Journal. It's a goal setting journal, and then there's All In Wrestling System, which is a system that gives coaches the ability to apply a system. My dad, he's the guy that, right? He had a system in place from the youth all the way up, and that was attributed to a lot of the success that Lakeside had, and he didn't create it. He was, you know, learning from some of the greats in the sport, like a Dan Gable and some of the other coaches out there that were, you know, teaching that you need a system in place. And, you know, kind of in the process, we were running these wrestling camps, and you guys have heard about it, Kaizen Intensive Wrestling Camp or Washington Intensive Wrestling Camp, and these have been running now for 26 years. And the question that I had is, you know, why are we running these camps and then sending the coaches home with, you know, really nothing, right? So it comes in one year and it's out the other year. And the idea began to kind of churn on how do we make something so that these coaches can leave camp and have access to it, and then not
Something to
just
look
not,
at, yeah.
yeah, apply it in their rooms. Yeah.
And that great concept. And
Yeah.
it's building, and I'm and I know you're getting excited about the potential of all of this, and
Yeah.
I'm excited for you as well, because I do remember when I had my heavyweight camps, to send
Yeah.
the kids home with just cues or information that they could look at to help them remember what it was we went over in the camp. That's it only makes sense that
Yeah.
that you would build a system like that. Now, uh, I have some questions that I've
Yeah.
gleaned off of your deal. Being challenged in life is
Yeah.
inevitable.
Yeah.
Being defeated is optional. Where did you get that statement? Where did that
Um,
come
I,
from?
I think that came from Dan Gable, but I would have to pull that up. But yeah, I mean, it is what it is, right? It's a choice,
Yeah, it
and
is.
yeah,
No, it's a great statement, and I really like that. So, when you have something that I mean, you've been in. Tell everybody the year you did the 50 free clinics. I want to hear the
yeah.
story. I want to hear the story.
Yeah, so last year I was on a goal to, you know, give back to the sport in a way that probably hasn't been done. You know, typically coaches get paid, you know, anywhere from $500 to $1,000 to $2,500 to come run a clinic, depending on, you know, how big time they are. And I kind of went through some of that, and I just kind of wanted to make a bigger outreach. I knew I could only afford to do so much, so I said, okay, I'll commit 2 months, and I'll jump in my camper with my dog, and we're going to go around the states, you know, of Idaho, Washington, Oregon, and Montana a little bit. And then actually a school flew me down to California because they wanted to be a part of it. And I just ran free clinics, you know, day clinics where there's 2 sessions or, you know, some of them 3 sessions. And all the high schools would come in, and we ended up doing, I think it was like 25 locations and somewhere over 53, you know, schools kind of congregated, maybe a little bit more even. And essentially the goal was to run the best possible session that I could run, of course, and make an impact in that moment. But it was also to begin to tell people about the All In Wrestlers Journal, which was, you know, the journal that I had created that I want more than anything. I want the Northwest to, you know, to take advantage of.
Sure.
We've sold 1,700 copies around the country, and there's thousands of wrestlers now using them, and the testimonies have been amazing. And some of the best wrestlers in the entire world have the journal and they use it regularly. And so, but for me, it was like, I got like, that's great. I love making an impact nationwide. Like that's why I kind of started this, but I want my Northwest guys. I want where my hometown boys to have access to this.
Yeah, and you did a clinic in Moses Lake, so
Yeah.
no, and Jaime actually refers back to it quite regularly, by the way.
That's cool.
Now, so you took that 2 months and you went around everywhere and gave these clinics, and uh, if you've done something like that for a long time, you kind of get into a habit of having some favorite bits of advice. Share right now, because this is something that kids can go back and watch. Because I know most high school kids should be in school right now, and they shouldn't be watching this, but they can go back and watch this. What's
Yeah.
some of your favorite advice that you like to give kids?
Becoming a 1,000 rep wrestler is such an important thing, right? So probably one of my favorite things I share with kids is, something that they can really relate to. And it's, so it's a story about when I was in college, and it's about, there's really two stories, but one is related to the journal and one is related to why we created the wrestling system. But the wrestling system is really unique. And so I like to share stuff that relates to that because I want kids to understand, what is going to give them confidence. We're all seeking as coaches to find ways that we can give our kids an elite level of confidence. Like there's a lot of wrestlers down here. They're kind of novice. They're just kind of average and they're just kind of entering the sport. Then there's a tier in here in the middle where there's most wrestlers. And then there's another tier where the toughest kids are. And the challenge for everyone is to get the kids from where most wrestlers are to the top, to the best, to the toughest. And there's two things that have to take place. One is a mental breakthrough, and two is an ability breakthrough. And the ability breakthrough is something that we can all accomplish, and it really is it's determined whether you're going to show up and drill the system or drill the reps or put in the repetition, because that's where they're going to build the confidence.
And that can be applied to life.
Yes.
And that's the beauty of it, because not only you're teaching wrestling skill, but you're also teaching a life skill. Is that if you continue to work at something, you're going to get better at it and become more proficient, and success will follow. And I think that's what you're going to be seeing before too long. You've been around. Have you been able to travel internationally with any wrestling?
Yeah. I've been all over the country a little bit. I've wrestled in Poland. I've wrestled in Turkey. I've wrestled in. I'm actually this summer. I'm going to Croatia. I've spent some time traveling the country. My story about Turkey is actually kind of funny. Do you want to hear it, Jim?
I would love to. That was actually supposed to be my first medical trip with USA Wrestling, but we ended up going to Poland. So, but
okay.
I've never had the opportunity to be in Turkey. I know some Turkish wrestlers, but having been on several trips. But tell me your Turkey trip, your Turkey story.
Well, hopefully I'm not boring people with all my stories, but
no, this is great.
This one was a good one. This was pretty funny. So I was actually
Levi. I'm sorry. Oh, I'm gonna have you center yourself just a little bit. Bring your camera down the left, down and left. No, too far down. Perfect.
Right there.
There you go. There you're good. Now set yourself a little bit to the right.
Okay.
No, there you go. Yeah, perfect. There we go. Now
right
tell
there?
us your Turkey story.
Okay, I apologize. I'm working with a cracked phone.
You're good. Tell us your story about your trip to Turkey.
Okay, so essentially the trip to Turkey, this is kind of how it goes. So I was actually there for my wife. She was playing on the professional tennis tour, and I was coaching. I was coaching Boise State, or I mean Arizona State, and I took this trip with her, and we were supposed to be gone for a month, but obviously I wanted to be training too because I was still competing at the time. And so we're at this hotel and we're on the ocean in Turkey in this beautiful place. And she's playing in this tournament, and it's a pro tournament. So the only way you stay is if you keep winning. And she was doing well. And so we were going to be there for about a month. And I'm walking on the beach one day, and these couple Turkish guys like, hey, you American, you come wrestle, and they're doing like sumo wrestling on the beach, and I could tell they were kind of average, and I'm like, no, I'm good, I'm good, I'm good, I don't want to do that, and they're like, no, you come back, come on. And they like grab me by the arm, and I'm like, okay, I'll wrestle. And so we kind of go into a body lock. And, at the time, there was the clinch lock just a couple years back. There was the clinch lock, and I had gotten good in the clinch. And so I lock up in the clinch, and I'm pretty comfortable there. And, this guy, he grabs a hold of me. He kind of starts like, really kind of wrestling me hard and like kind of giving me and I'm kind of relaxed, I'm comfortable, and I'm not trying to be too cool for school, and I got to be careful. I don't want to get myself injured or something. So, and anyway, I kind of just make a statement real quick. So I step in and just toss him, up in the air, and the whole beach, everybody on the beach is like clapping, and then these guys, this kind of got scary. They wouldn't leave me alone. They loved me, but they thought I was like some hero. They thought I was like Olympic gold medalist or something. They thought I was a big deal, American. And so they start following me around. They get my autograph, and they follow me into the hotel, and they eat next to me, and they're like filming me with their phone. And I don't know really what's going on. I'm kind of starting to get nervous, all these Turkish guys. And the next morning I'm eating breakfast, and I tell my wife about the story that night, and I'm eating breakfast, and this guy taps me on the shoulder, and I turn around, and as soon as I turn around, I mean, you're a heavyweight, Jim, and this guy was a heavyweight, but this guy is chiseled out of his mind. He looked like Alexander Karelin, right? And big old cauliflower ears, and I look around, I'm like, oh my gosh, what did I get myself into? And he brought a translator with him, and basically we started talking back and forth, and he's one of the Olympic coaches, and he asked me to come practice with his team. And I'm like, yeah, of course, Well, that turns into a 45-minute drive. My wife and I get in a car. We go an hour. These guys take our passports from us as we enter in to, I'm thinking we're going to go to some rough place. But you got to remember, in Turkey, wrestling is their biggest sport.
Oh yeah,
so
it is huge.
We pull in, and it's this mansion, glass, beautiful hotel, and they have their Olympic training center in this hotel. Anyway, long story short, I end up spending a bunch of time wrestling with the team, and my very first day in practice was really unique because when foreigners wrestle you, they don't like to drill. They don't want to know, they want to feel how good you are live first, because they kind of got to get an idea like whether they can work out with you or not. And so they just like, okay, you wrestle live, and everybody else is drilling, and they trying to get me to wrestle live with this guy. And I'm like, all right, let's go, here we go. It's live, and I'm wrestling with their Olympic guy that was third in the Olympics, and I kind of take a shot, and he jacks me up, goes double overhooks, steps over the outside of my legs, and he tosses me. he just tosses me right on my head, and so here's all these guys, and I'm ready to fight. I'm like, okay, I got to answer back, right? So I'm kind of sassy, if you know me, and I decide to hit him back with the exact same thing. So he takes a fake shot, and I go double overhooks on him, and I toss him, and
Oh, sweet.
The whole wrestling room, all the other guys, that they all start laughing, and then the coaches, they come over to me, and they're like, you come back tomorrow and you go run with us on beach, and they're all super excited, and it was just one of those memories that I was like, man, I'm gonna cherish this for the rest of my life.
That's a cool thing. If you can get
Yeah.
in to that kind of a deal, man,
Yeah.
you are a hero, because they love the American,
Yeah.
the ability to rub shoulders with Americans and stuff. And I had that experience in Uzbekistan, and I shared it on the
Yeah.
show a week or so ago. But that's the thing about being international. I do remember uh, on a trip to Greece. We were getting ready for the World Championships, and at the time, we were in Paris. No, it wasn't Greece, but it was Paris. They were telling us that we needed to be careful on wearing our American gear out, our USA wrestling stuff around, and
Yeah.
because the tension with the United States wasn't wasn't optimal. Anyway, but that's a great story. I imagine, was that one of your favorites? Is that one of your favorite stories?
Yeah, I mean, it's just one of those things. The sport is so transcendent. Like, you can mix with any culture,
Yeah.
and it's just it's really fun. I mean, it's a funny sport, Jim, because my wife asked me this question a month ago or 2 months ago. She's like, why does everybody say, like, have fun in the sport? Like, have fun today, or like, we all know, like, it's a complete grind. It's tough as nails. And
It's a tough sport.
I had to explain, like, I really think there's two things that make wrestling. I had to think about it too. I really did. I had to think about, like, what does make wrestling fun, like, for just anybody, right? And I think number one is winning. Well, winning is fun. It's just, it is what it is. Winning is fun, and getting to the winning part is a lot of really hard work that few are willing to do, but the ones that do, they have fun, and they win, and it gets some momentum, and it gets rolling. The second part is innovating and learning, and that's where, like, wrestling with a foreigner, like, I was learning and doing new things, and trying new things, and that's for me, that makes it fun. When you learn something new, and then you go out and it works, the smile on your face just lights up, and
Yeah.
you're just so excited, and I think there's two things, like, those two things really make our sport a lot of fun.
And it makes it very special
Yeah.
in a unique way, because when you think about it, there isn't another sport similar to this. What
Yeah.
and this is for me, the easiest way to compare it to other sports. What sport requires you to show up a couple hours early, strip
Yeah.
down to pretty much almost nothing, and get on a scale and weigh yourself, and then have your body looked at, make sure you're clean shaven and that you don't have any
Yeah.
skin issues? No other sport does that, and
Yeah.
um, and and that's just one little thing. Most people just show up
Right.
and put their shoes on, and then they go play. Where wrestling is a little bit different in that respect. Um, what do you have now? You just gave us a great wrestling memory.
Yeah.
That was more about a traveling situation.
Yeah.
Do you have a favorite wrestling memory?
Do I have say that again?
A favorite wrestling memory?
Favorite wrestling memory. For me, one of my favorite wrestling memories was probably, I think with any wrestler, their favorite memories are probably when they have big breakthroughs. And for me, one of those breakthroughs was when I was in college, and I was wrestling and I was really frustrated in practice. And I remember sitting on the wall. I remember looking around and being frustrated, and seeing other faces that were frustrated. And Jim, to be honest, I was so frustrated, I drove off into the mountains, and I slept in the back of my truck. And I was trying to figure out, I was being challenged in this sport. And that's the thing about this sport. It really is going to take you to a vulnerable place. And what happened was, I was on my drive back. I got a call from my dad. I ignored it because I was frustrated at the time. I was trying to make a jump in the Boise State wrestling room. And I later got another call from my dad, and I was supposed to be in study hall, Jim, and I was actually watching Flow Wrestling. And my dad said, "Levi, what are you doing right now?" And I said, "I'm frustrated. I'm trying to make a jump. I'm trying to become one of the best guys, on the team, and I'm not making the jumps that I want to make, and my matches with my guys at my weight are close." So my dad said, "What are you doing right now?" And I said, "I'm watching a guy named Brent Metcalf, and he was wrestling at the NCAA tournament." And he goes, "Levi," he goes, "you're watching Brent Metcalf. Perfect. Pull out a pen and paper." And I said, "Okay." I pull out a pen and paper, and he goes, "I want you to write down how many seconds are between each attack, and I want you to tell me what attacks he hit." And so I said, "Okay, I can do that." So every 6 to 8 seconds, Brent Metcalf had taken either a high C, a single leg, or a snap down go behind. Every 6 to 8 seconds at the NCAA tournament, in one of the biggest tournaments, toughest tournaments, this guy hit 3 of the most basic, solid techniques. My dad asked me simply, he goes, "Do you know those?" And I said, "Of course I do." And I made a shift that day that changed my life. And it was a big part of me creating the All-In Wrestling System. It was the shift from, like, how do I do what he does? How do I do what Brent Metcalf is doing? And my dad just said, "You got to go back to the basics. You got to go back to the system that we did every day in the practice room. You got to put it before your practice if you're not doing it in your college room, and you got to put it after your practice. You got to start hitting the rep after rep after rep purposefully for you. Single legs that you're hitting that are giving a realistic look, snap downs that are giving a realistic fight, over and over and over for you." And what happened was I built muscle memory, and muscle memory repetition and muscle memory turns into a habit, and a habit turns into confidence. And when you have confidence, everything starts to skyrocket in the sport of wrestling. And that's why I always say confidence is so big. And so for me, my takedown percentage went off the charts. I was just naturally doing things in the practice room, and there was a joy and excitement in my body. And so when I would finish those practices, I was no longer frustrated. I'd look around, and I'd still see a couple faces that were frustrated around my weight class, and I started making a jump. And shortly after, I had one of the best moments in my career. I went down to Reno Tournament of Champions. I knocked off 4 All-Americans, NCAA Division I All-Americans in one tournament. I went on to win that tournament. And in the process, I was down one match. I was down like 7 or 8 to 2. And I came back and beat this guy from Chattanooga. His name was Cody Cleveland, and he was a 2-time All-American. And I come back to beat him. And that tournament was just a special turning point and an exciting moment in my life because, we did everything that everybody does, make the weight cut. We actually drove the wrong way to get down to Reno, and then we drove down to Reno, and then we show up late and make weight. And then, we had like 7 champions on our team win that tournament that week, which was a big college tournament for us. And it was just a big turning point, but it all stemmed, and I only share that long story because I want you to know where the victory stemmed from. And I want people that are watching to understand that there's certain things that you can do that can give you incredible confidence. And it oftentimes, like, we look at the guys that are just accomplishing big things, and we just want what they're accomplishing, but we're not really given a tool to accomplish it.
And now you're offering that tool in
Yeah.
your all-in system.
Yeah.
That's a great that's a great story to share with everybody, because you actually had to write, you had to put it on paper and see, to make sense of what you needed to do to fix
Yeah.
the frustration that you were having. That's a great story, and
Yeah.
you attribute that to a phone call you got from your father.
Yeah.
That's great. That's why he's a Hall of Famer.
Yeah.
That's why
Yeah.
he's a Hall of Famer. Well, hey, this has been awesome. Let me see if I have. Oh, you mentioned your wife. Tell us about you. You have some children now too, don't you?
Yeah.
Tell us.
So
I
this
want.
whole journey, Jim, has just been absolutely crazy. I sent an email out the other day, actually, about kind of a vulnerable point in my life. But this journey has been crazy. So I was coaching at Boise State when we were blindsided. We had everything going in the right direction. 15 new recruits coming in, probably could have been a top 20 recruiting class in the country. I mean, amazing coaching staff, really strong guys in both their faith and character, and also they all wanted to apply a systematic training system to develop our team. And so just things were really going the right direction, and then it was blindsided, right? And so when it was blindsided, everybody kind of went through this like fight mode for a while. And then honestly, I kind of slipped into kind of a sorrow mode. And that was really bad point in my life. And long story short, there was a time I just said, I'm going to shift it. I'm going to shift my perspective. I'm going to change my life. I'm going to do what I want to do. And that's in the wrestling world. And that's when I said, I'm going to go all in. And what all in meant to, was, for me, it was just a choice every day. But lo and behold, that became a journal, a wrestling system, and two young little boys at the same, within a year of each other. So launching an online business, having two young little boys, wrestling camps, 2 months on the road, the whole thing sometimes I questioned myself, what I was doing, the risk I was taking, and the different things. But every day was just this choice to go all in. And in that process, I was blessed. My wife and I, we were just extremely blessed by our two young little boys. One of them is 18 months now, and the other is 6 months. So they're about a year apart. Some people call
Yeah.
them Irish twins. And yeah, it's pretty fun. It's pretty fun.
Oh, that'll be great. I can't wait to see you at a little kids tournament here soon.
Yeah. Yeah.
And you
Yeah. I'll
live
come
in
up to
Boise.
Moses.
Yeah, that's right. You're more than welcome to join our club. That would be awesome. Hey, Levi, this has been a blast, and we've shared your Kaizen Camp
Yeah. Yeah.
website on the post. We've also put in there your all-in system, wrestling system,
Yeah.
and your website for that. But you're also on Facebook and on Instagram and on all the social media platforms. So check out Levi Jones's. Uh, it's not. I think it's more than just for wrestling, because what you've shared
Yeah.
us is how you can win at life too.
Yeah. And I think, Jim, I want to make sure, so my whole job now is to provide value for coaches, and so that they could then apply, these different tools that I've created in their programs. And, a big part of that is the camps, and why we run the camps the way we run them. But I wanted to tell you about a couple of things. So number one is, I just want everybody in Washington to know, like, you've heard about the All In Wrestlers Journal. If you go to allinjournal.com, you can get your copy literally free. I'm buying the book. I've designed it. It's a hardback book, and it's a really amazing goal setting tool that you can put into your rooms. We have college teams, we have high school teams that have it for their entire team, and it's just a really powerful tool if you want to edge. And I'm giving you a free copy for the first one. So if anybody wants just a free book, that is one resource that I would like to give, completely, so that people have access to it. But also, Jim, if maybe after this podcast, I can give you more stuff, because I've wrote stuff on nutrition and weight cutting and practice plans and different things that I would love, your audience and for anybody that I can, hopefully make an impact. I could give them those tools, and I appreciate you having me on here, Jim. It's fun.
This has been my joy, because that's why I created this show, was so that I can not only get to be able to talk about wrestling, but I'm able to talk to anybody about whatever subject that they are passionate about, and I can see your passion, and and it's something that can not only help wrestlers, but if you just have a little mind shift, you can apply it to your everyday life. And
That's right.
I want to thank you. I want to thank you, Levi. We will be in touch, and looking forward. I'm pretty sure it's on the Chiefs' calendars. I think they're going to be going to the Walla Walla Kaizen camp, and they're looking forward to that. So
yeah, I'm always pumped to have Moses Lake. You guys are such a tough wrestling town. Holy smokes! We always have been.
We love it. We love it. It's been it's been a true blessing to have grown up here, and to, a lot of people know or have heard about Moses Lake Wrestling, and it's kind of a cool thing. And we do love it. We have some great coaches, and we're continuing to try and continue to live up to the legacy that the tradition that we've built here.
Yeah, Jim, you should reach out to my dad, because I'm not the best storyteller, but I can tell you one guy that has some amazing stories about the battles between Lakeside and Moses Lake back in the day with Ron Seibel and all the Zamoras, and those gyms used to be packed with 1,500 to 2,000 plus people, a little 2A school, and those were some fun times back when he was coaching. So I'm sure he'd love to chat it up with you too.
I'll have to get in touch with him.
Yeah.
It's been a long time. I haven't seen him in a long time. You tell him hello for me.
I will. Absolutely.
Levi, thank you so much. This has been a wonderful hour, and I appreciate your time. And I wish you the best of luck with your endeavors with not only the Kaizen, but also the all-in system program that you're developing.
Thanks, Jim. Thanks for what you do. I appreciate you.
I have fun being, I don't know, a small part of helping grow not only wrestling, but sharing stories about other people. Levi, you take care and have a great day, buddy.
All right. Thanks, Jim. Talk to you later.
We'll see you. Bye. All righty, folks. That was Levi Jones with the All-In Wrestling System, and he does the Kaizen Intensive Camps, Washington Intensive Camps. We've linked those in the post. I wanted to give a shout out to some more of my sponsors. Frederick's Jewelry. At Frederick's Jewelry, you'll find that special something for your loved ones. They provide custom designed jewelry and expert jewelry repair. Not only do they sell and repair jewelry, they also have beautiful fine gifts, from glassware vases, vials, ceramic sculptures, to gold and silver watches, necklaces, and rings. With over 60 years of being in business, they're the ones to trust for jewelry, fine gifts, or jewelry and watch repair. Serving Moses Lake since 1953. Frederick's Jewelry is at 208 West 3rd Avenue. Give Nick a call at 509-765-6331. Also see what's happening on their Facebook page at Frederick's Jewelry ML, and you can also look at their beautiful work on one of their galleries at fredericksjewelry.multiscreensite.com/gallery. and it's a website that Nick has. And you can find a link here in this post that I'm about to put in. But I want to thank Nick and Frederick's Jewelry for being a part of on the bench with Big Jim. And then my last sponsor is Boost Mobile. Boost Mobile is where you can get 4 lines of unlimited gigs when you switch to Boost Mobile. That includes mobile hotspot per line, and this is available in store or online. Go to their website for further information. That's boostmobile.com. Go see the great people at Boost Mobile. Maria Calvillo has some great people working down there at 301 East Broadway, Suite C in Moses Lake, or call 509-765-4298. Their store hours are Monday through Saturday, 10 to 7 p.m., and on Sundays from noon to 5. And they will be able to take care of all of your cell phone needs down at Boost Mobile here in Moses Lake. Appreciate everybody for tuning in today. I want to specifically give a shout out to my friend Susan Pyle, who runs a business called Whip and Whisk, and it's a she bakes some of the most amazing treats, cakes, cookies, all kinds of specialty things. And I want to thank Susan for giving me a shout out the other day about On the Bench with Big Jim. Again, I want to thank my guest today, Levi Jones, and the All In Wrestling System. And I hope you can go check him out. Also, you wrestling coaches that are watching this, make sure that you check out not only the Kaizen Intensive Camp website, but also his All In Wrestling System website, so that you can find out how he's making an impact for high school kids. It's a great deal. Again, thank you all for listening in today. I want to thank my sponsors, Jay's Teriyaki Grill, Tesis Merchant Solutions, Frederick's Jewelry, and Boost Mobile. And if anybody else would like to become a sponsor, please contact me, and we can get you hooked up. I can help promote your business, and we'll get you some more business. That's what we do here, is we help one another. Again, thanks everybody for watching. Like and share the video, and we will see you on Friday. Take care, everybody. Bye.